I'm Dr. Helen Czerski. I'm a physicist and oceanographer, and I wrote the book Blue Machine. Blue Machine is all about the ocean, and the thing is that when we normally talk about the ocean, we talk about the things in it, the fish and the whales and the dolphins and the ships and the pollution, but we almost never look at the water itself. And the reason I wrote this book is because I think that the water is the biggest story on Earth, and that as soon as you look at the ocean as an engine, a place where water is moving and it does things. It's not just, the sort of coloured in bits in between the land. It is the feature that defines Earth because of what it's doing, not because of its colour. Once you see it like that, you can't unsee it. And to get into it, there are so many stories of people and animals and history and culture. And so Blue Machine sort of shows the ocean through all those different lenses. It tells all these different stories. And I hope that by the end, people can see the ocean as I see it, as the engine that defines our planet. I wrote Blue Machine out of frustration because I discovered the ocean by accident. All my degrees are in physics, and I finished my PhD in physics, experimental physics, and I wanted to do something that was sort of something you could see and touch, that wasn't quantum mechanics or cosmology. And so I found the world of bubbles, and I rocked up at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography in San Diego as a bubble physicist, and I understood what was in the lab there. It had oscilloscopes and pipes, all the physics things that I understood in the lab. And everyone else in my lab, they were doing different things. And one day, after 3 weeks, they opened the doors of the lab, because it's California, you open the doors straight to the outdoors. And they lifted up this big frame that was by the door, maybe 2 meters cubed. It was huge. And they carried it down the hill and they put it in the ocean. And I realized that was their eyes into another world. And even though I'd been at an oceanography institution for 3 weeks, I hadn't really looked at the ocean, which sounds really silly in retrospect. But once I looked at the ocean differently, and I what is it? What's the physics that they're looking for? Then I saw it. I saw this thing as an engine. And I went round and I was like, okay, I have to learn. So I learned to scuba dive, and I learned everything I could. And one of the things I did before I left Scripps was I went round all these offices of people and said, can you recommend me a book? Like, I've just discovered the ocean. I'm a bit behind, but can you recommend me a book? And they recommended me so many wonderful books, and none of them were about the ocean. They were about the things in it, or they were about other interesting things. And I was so indignant that no one was telling this story. And so, I learned oceanography by the back door. I'm an academic. I study the ocean, the physics of the ocean. And then when it came to looking for a topic for this most recent book, I thought, no one's done this yet. No one's told this story. And it's 15 years after I first realized there was a story to tell, and still no one's told it. So maybe I'd better have a go. So I did, and then I realized why no one had tried it. It's because it's hard. It's a very rich story, but it's so obvious. You have to really concentrate to see it sometimes, but once you've seen it, then this richness is everywhere, and it affects all of our lives all of the time. And it is the background to our civilization, but those influences are so obvious that we sort of don't see them. But once you've seen it, it changes everything. So really the book came from the frustration that this is clearly this is the story that defines our planet. If you came to Earth from another planet and you looked at us, you would say this is an ocean planet, and the ocean dictates how it works, and the ocean is what's calling the shots here. And yet those of us who live on this planet, we don't see that we are citizens of an ocean world. And it was time to tell that story, so I had to try. I would love readers to come away recognizing the ocean as part of their identity, that it's not just a thing that's over there or in the back of your holiday shots, but it is a part of our lives. It's a part of who we are as citizens of this planet. And if they just carry that different perspective with them, that would be a wonderful thing, because it makes sense of the world in a way that makes you see everything differently. And I would love people to see that the way I see it. I think that the world is a very complex place, and it's very difficult to understand. As humans, when we want a story, we kind of want a beginning and the middle and end, and here's a hero and here's a villain, and it's kind of going that way. And our minds are always looking for a story to make sense of it. And the world is such a complicated place that one story can't do that. That if you only have one story, it's a partial truth, but it's never the whole truth. So the only way to really understand the world is to make sure you have lots of different stories from lots of different perspectives. And the wonderful thing about the books on the shortlist is that they have those different perspectives, that they are all representations of the world, and all of them make you go, oh, I hadn't seen it like that. And isn't the world wonderful? Because these are all simultaneously true, all these perspectives. And the more perspectives you have, the richer your worldview is, and the better able you are to not just to be happy and to live, but to have agency, right, to do things. And so the wonderful thing about the shortlist is that those books give you so many of those different perspectives, and they all give you joy as well as giving you agency. And those are the things we need to deal with the climate crisis. I was so surprised when I was called up on stage. I lost the ability to speak. I am obviously very grateful. It's a huge privilege. But I really hope that this brings this view of the ocean to more people, because being citizens of the ocean, of an ocean world, is such an amazing thing to be. It adds a whole load of richness to what it means to be human. And if winning this prize, winning that with prize is kind of a recognition for how wonderful the ocean is, and if it helps, the prize is sort of kind of for the ocean. That's my way of seeing it, is that the ocean had all those stories. I just happened to be the one that went looking for them and found them, and so the ocean deserves this kind of perspective and this kind of recognition. And if it's an amazing thing to have won this prize. I'm so grateful.